Good morning, friends. Ann here, got my cup of coffee, got the Word of God, and today's reading is Luke chapter 14. Friends, in Luke chapter 14, we find Jesus around the dinner table with the Pharisees and some of his disciples around. And the first thing that happens in Luke chapter 14 is that this man comes in who obviously is in need of healing, and Jesus heals the man on the Sabbath. And instead of attacking Jesus like they typically do, the Pharisees are quiet. Like they have been through this conversation with Jesus before. But the other thing that Jesus notices is that around the table, there are people who, as they are coming in and taking their seats, are assuming that they are the ones that are most important who need to sit in the place of honor. And he goes on to give them this instruction. He says this: when you are invited to a wedding feast, don't sit in the seat of honor. What if someone who is more distinguished than you has also been invited? The host will then come and say, give this person your seat. Then you will be embarrassed and you will have to take whatever is left at the foot of the table. Instead, take the lowest place at the foot of the table. Then when your host sees you, he will come and say, friend, we have a better place for you. Then you will be honored in front of all the other guests. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. And he goes on to then talk about a banquet that was this great feast that this man had invited other people to. And he prepared this celebration and he sent out his servant and said, invite all my friends. The servant comes back and says, your friends are not coming. They're giving excuses. And the man says this: go quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and invite the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. And after the servant did that, he said, there's still more room. So then the king says, go out into the country lanes and behind the hedges and urge anyone you find to come, so that the house will be full. For none of those I first invited will even get the smallest taste of my banquet. So you have this understanding that there are these people around and they are trying to get the place of honor. And then you have this picture of this banquet that people of honor are being invited to, and they're not even showing up. And Jesus is saying, we need to reach out to the others. We need to reach out to the lost and the least of these and those that are on the margins of society. And then he goes on to say that there is a cost for being a disciple. And he begins to talk about the things that we lose whenever we become disciples of his. Friends, as we look at this whole chapter as one big theme, I think it's important for us to notice that in order to be a disciple, we need to be humble. We need to assume no status. We need to claim no privilege, and we need to be including all people. Friends, Jesus didn't come in order to model that we should push to the front, that we should be the most, that we should be the best. But he went to the people on the margins. He included them. He showed them who he was by humbling himself. He showed us who he was by humbling himself, claiming no privilege of heaven, assuming no status, and including all people in his plan for salvation. So friends, to be a disciple, be humble, assume no status, claim no privilege, and include all. Have a good day.